So if we look at the last 6 months in the lettings market, like anything, it's all supply and demand. And in the world of lettings, there is a shortage of stock to rent. Now, this is for a couple of reasons, really. The main one being that there's not as many purchases now by investors to rent out properties. There are lots of tax implications in doing that, so it's less attractive for people to become landlords and landladies like it may have been 5-10 years ago. So what happens now is typically the stock that we get to rent out is quite commonly stock that is already rented out, and you've got tenants that are coming to the end of their tenancy. And they're obviously moving on because they might be buying a property, or they might be moving on because they're relocating, whatever it might be. So we are recycling a lot of the letting stock that is on the market rather than always adding new stock to the lettings market. So due to that supply and demand, there's a limited amount of properties to rent. And there are still an awful lot of people out there that need to rent property. Because of that, lettings prices have continued to go up. We're at a point now where we've probably reached a bit of a peak in terms of where lettings prices are going. And I think a lot of landlords and landladies are very much of the view that they don't want to rinse and get the highest possible price at the sacrifice of not having a good tenant. But it's a very buoyant market for landlords. But those prices have continued to go up because, as we all know, costs have gone up everywhere as well. So whether it's maintenance costs on the building, mortgage costs that people have on their buy-to-lets, a lot of these costs end up being passed on to the tenants, unfortunately. And that's where rental prices have gone up over the years. Where we've probably seen a slight slowdown in the number of people needing to rent is when we've had that really, really busy market a few years ago. People would sell their property in a heartbeat, and a lot of people would be relocating from London or wherever they might be down to the south coast. We're probably seeing a little less of that now. People are not necessarily having to rent in between selling and buying a new property because the work from home setup is still there, but it's maybe not 5 days a week anymore. It may have now dropped down to 2 or 3 days a week, and therefore people have now decided that they want to remain closer to the office. A lot of people previously would have been relocating down to Worthing, for example, or Brighton, Hove, still working in London, and they were going to test the market down here and test living here, and by doing that they were going to rent a property for a period of time. So you've taken some of those prospective tenants out of the market, but it still remains a very stock short market. And on the whole, pretty much every property we take on, we successfully let within a fairly fast period of time. It's been very buoyant.